Okay, so my book is Who Was Anne Frank? And I am doing everyday literacy. So have you guys ever felt stressed and overwhelmed and don't know what to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One beneficial way to help get all your feelings out would be to write it down. Does anyone have an example of somewhere they can write down these feelings?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what's the
I have
example?
I have a notebook.
A notebook?
I also have like a notebook or my computer.
So kind of like a journal.
Yes.
Okay, so in this story, Anne Frank is writing about her life, and it lets us look into her life, but it also lets us see how beneficial journal writing was for her, where she could get all her feelings out. So I'm going to read you a quote from the book. The quote is, "It is the silence that frightens me, so in the evening and at night, I can't tell you how oppressive it is never to be able to go outdoors. Also, I am very afraid that we will be discovered and be shot." So, can anyone relate to this feeling of like fear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you guys have been scared before in your lives? Okay. So what I want you to do is we're going to write 3 sentences explaining an example of a time we were fearful, just like Anne Frank was during this time. And that is the activity that I would do as my kids to bring in their everyday lives into relating it to a book, basically. And then my supporting passage is that I survived the Nazi invasion.
All right. So my book is Holes. And so this book, one of the themes is about being kind. And in this story, the main character, Stanley, has bad luck and he gets sent to dig holes for a crime he did not commit. And so my topic is writing composition. So this also relates to the book because one of the characters in the story is learning how to read. And a quote from my story is, supposedly he had a great great grandfather who had stolen a pig from a one-legged gypsy, and she put a curse on him and all his descendants. Stanley and his parents didn't believe in curses, of course, but whenever anything went wrong, it felt good to be able to blame someone. So in my lesson, the question that I would ask to the students is, why does Stanley have bad luck? So that would be our topic for the writing in this book. And then after we discuss this, we're going to turn and talk with partners. And then we're going to discuss how we can elaborate this. We're going to pre-write the story. And then we're going to draft the story. And then we're going to revise our story. And then we're going to edit it and then publish it. So that is the writing composition.
So I have the book Be You, and a summary about this book is that it encourages children to celebrate their individuality and persuades them to be their true selves. And my strategy that I had was spelling. So the first part of my strategy is that the teacher will call out the word. So one word in the book is like colorful. So teacher will say the word, and then the students will repeat the word after. Then we will break apart the words like sounding it out. Then the students will repeat it again, and then the students will write down the word as part of their spell.
So my story was wonder, and the themes of this story are standing up to adversity and accepting your identity. And my strategy that I did was the QAR strategy, so question answer relationship, and it's a reading comprehension strategy. And it involves readers answering questions on their own and then recalling answers from the text, and then also using questions where it's them and the author, where they make inferences and make connections with other texts. So an example from the story where I would ask a question to students is from chapter one. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face that no one ever noticed at all. I would wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. So I would ask students, does anybody know what one thing is that Augie, the main character, wished for in the story? So students could recall that from the text and state the answer. And then if I wanted to ask a question where it's the students and the author, I would say, what is another text that the story reminds you of where the main character is facing being different than everyone else based off of their looks? And students may say things like Stella Luna, or do you guys have a story in mind where you can think of that has those same qualities that the main character has in this story? So students would say their response to that and just stories that share the same theme. That way they can understand what this story is saying and then understand what a different text is saying.
All right, and then just to go over, so all our stories, we had another book that we went with it. So my story was the Buddy Bench that went with Holes. Ava's.
And then mine was I survived the Nazi invasion to go with who was Anne Frank.
And then mine's Be You, which is encourage children to be themselves.
Mine was I Am Malala, which is a story that shares the same themes of diversity and acceptance.
All right, and that's it. Thank you.